the post reads on X, 31-year-old former Tarleton State quarterback Ben Holmes has received another year of eligibility from the NCAA and will return to Tarleton State next season. 31 years old. He's going back to college. Now, let's look at the history of Ben Holmes. Give me a second here. Here it is. From thebiglead.com. Ben Holmes. He has not stepped on a college football field since 2019. While he was at Tarleton State, he put up 62 total touchdowns, which caught the eyes of scouts to get him taken 4th overall in the 2022 USFL draft. He was drafted by the USFL. That's a professional frigging league where you have to sign a contract to play. He played for the USFL in 2022. Okay? So drafted by the USFL. Didn't last. He got hurt on April 1st of 2022. So what did he do? He went north to the CFL, Canadian Football League, and played for the Montreal Alouettes and the Edmonton Elks. And then he ended up landing on the Toronto Argonauts in August 3rd of 2022 and played one game that season, but he played in another professional league in Canada for three different professional teams. So not just the USFL, where he ended up getting hurt, but for Canadian football, where he ended up getting hurt again. But he decides, I want to go back to college. So the following year, Toronto cut him after training camp. I'm sorry, it wasn't hurt. He just got cut in 2023. His journey continued overseas to the Vienna Kings, and he signed with them November 21st of 2023. During the 2024 ELF season, Holmes appeared in 10 games, completed 187 of 301 passes and 34 TDs and 5 INTs. Okay? Last season, threw for 2,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, 5 picks. Earned him an ELF All-Star honor. He played for another professional team. So he did what? USFL, played in college, drafted by the USFL, signed, went to Canada, played for 3 different teams, okay? Got cut, played for an international team, right, that was in Vienna, and played there for, 2 seasons? And now he's going back to college. This is here. Tarleton State quarterback Ben Holmes has been granted another year. How? How is it possible? Oh, I know how it's possible. I know how it's possible because I called NCAA legal and I got the skinny. See, these other guys who talk, they don't always get the skinny. I do. Okay. So another year. So he's 31, folks, 31 years old. And he's going to go back to play for Tarleton State. Seriously? I mean, seriously? Is this where we are? College football? Is this where we are? Look, let me pull up a clip here. Okay. It's exhausting to me, but let me pull this up. There's another player named James Nagy. Okay, James Nagy. Now, James Nagy, I'm going to talk, before I play the clip, I want to bring this up, and then I'm going to play the clip. James Nagy is a whole similar circumstance. Let me find the article on Nagy here. 1 second. From ESPN, as the calendar flips to 2026, the college basketball schedule turns to conference play, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, Nagy's latest example of a growing trend of professional players opting to pursue college basketball because of the lucrative opportunities that come with revenue sharing and name, image, and likeness, or nil. How did he get here? Well, let's go over that. Never previously enrolled in college. Spent the past 5 years with FC Barcelona. So Nagy never played an official NBA game. Okay, but he was drafted by an NBA team. However, he was the 31st pick in the 2023 draft, and he did participate in that year's summer league. So didn't play an NBA game, but he's playing on a summer league team, so he's part of an NBA team. The minute you enter the draft, you should not be eligible. Okay. Then later was part of a 3-team trade that brought Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks, and the Knicks still own Nagy's draft rights. So he played a couple years in Europe, and now he's playing for Baylor. Baylor signed him, and he's playing there. Now, is he eligible to play for Baylor? Based on the rules, Yeah, but right on the edge of it, maybe if he falls within that 1 year, maybe he's given a year. But why? And coaches are concerned about this. A lot of coaches are concerned, but they're not concerned that he doesn't meet the eligibility requirements. They're concerned of what it means, the precedent that it sets. Remember the word precedent. The precedent that it sets is, well, if they're going to allow players to play overseas or get drafted and then come back and play in college to get that nil money, then anybody could do it. Anybody can. And any sport. Now, bear with me. Why? Why are they concerned with that? Like, how is that going to set a precedent? Well, here's the deal. I called NCAA legal. I had to find out. Okay. I asked them today. I told a gentleman over there and I said, look, let me talk about Najee. What's the deal with him? And they said, well, that's taken on a case-by-case basis. I said, what does that mean? Basically, they evaluated his situation, as I read you, and yeah, he kind of skirts that little eligibility window. I mean, personally, if the rules are, if you're drafted by an NFL team, you lose your eligibility, that should apply in basketball too. And I asked the guy, doesn't that apply to you? He says, well, it should. I'm like, well, he said, well, this is a case-by-case basis. Again, I'm like, okay, so because of this situation and where he is, they've chosen to give him the eligibility. But I dug a little deeper. Now, they're not going to be too committal, but I got them to say, got this person to tip their hand a bit. Let's put it that way. He said, Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, Charlie Baker, he came out with a statement. Okay. This is directly from his X account on December 30th, 2025. Let me read this to you and then I will decipher it because I actually was on the phone with the rep from legal and I deciphered it with him on the phone and I'll tell you what he said. Charlie Baker writes, the NCAA has not and will not grant eligibility to any prospective or returning student athletes who have signed an NBA contract, including a two-way contract. Translation, Najee never signed a contract, apparently. As schools are increasingly recruiting individuals with international league experience, the NCAA is exercising discretion in applying the actual and necessary expenses bylaw to ensure that prospective student athletes with experience in American basketball leagues are not at a disadvantage compared to their international counterparts. Okay, so basically they're allowing teams to continue to draft from international leagues. Rules have long permitted schools to enroll and play individuals with no prior collegiate experience mid-year. Okay, fine. Well, here's where it kind of reveals itself. But it's hard to understand until you break it down. While the NCAA has prevailed on its vast majority of eligibility-related lawsuits, recent outlier decisions enjoining the NCAA on a nationwide basis from enforcing rules that have been on the books for decades without even having a trial are wildly destabilizing. I will be working with D1 leaders in the weeks ahead to protect college basketball from these misguided attempts to destroy this American institution. Kind of straightforward if you get it, but if you don't get it, let me explain it. That last paragraph gives it up. In this situation, it's what it is. They made an exception for Najee based on circumstances, but the real thing comes in the final paragraph, which is they're afraid of lawsuits. And I read that to the NCAA legal rep and I said, so basically what you're saying is they don't want to get sued and they're just going to cave to the lawsuits because they don't want to get sued. And he went, quote, exacto. That's what he said, exacto. And I said, how about that? And then I said, so if this is the case and you're allowing players to come in from international play or teams that have already been drafted, does that not set a potential precedent for former college players who are drafted by NFL teams but didn't sign the contract Doesn't that set a precedent for them to go back and play in college? Or if they're not drafted and they miss the draft, because if you don't get drafted, you've entered the draft, you give up your eligibility. So if you don't get drafted at all, you're not picked up by a team, you can't go back to the pros or to college from the pros, right? Because you've entered the draft. But does that set the precedent? And he went, I went, there you go.